knew that you were going to be a giant star. I really did.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, but I didn't know. What I didn't know is that you were going to get so sexy.
What Michael Jackson never told you about Diana Ross. Diana Ross wasn't just a star in Michael Jackson's life, she was the heartbeat of it. Their bond was tangled in mystery, wrapped in boundaries so delicate and taboo that most people never dared to ask questions. 2 years after Michael's passing, while exploring the shrine he had secretly built for Diana, something shocking was uncovered, a black-inked memoir. In its pages, Michael poured out his deepest struggles, unbroken dreams of marriage, haunting pains, and confessions of actions Diana never wanted the world to see. What did Michael really write about Diana? Did she see him only as a boy under her wing? Or was there something far deeper hiding in her heart? Their story began in 1969 when the Jackson 5 signed with Motown Records. The moment young Michael appeared, he instantly caught the eye of Motown's boss Berry Gordy, who said the boy carried James Brown's fire and Sammy Davis Jr.'s charm, a rare gift that demanded the spotlight. But here's the twist. That sweet discovery story fans were told, it was a setup. Diana Ross discovering Michael was nothing more than a publicity stunt to make him look like a child prodigy. They even shaved his age down from 11 to 9 to make the tale more magical. Still, one thing was never faked: Michael's love for Diana Ross. That love shadowed him his entire life. To Michael, Diana was everything: a sister, a mother figure, and the dream woman he could never truly have. The most astonishing revelation comes straight from his hidden memoir. It claimed that in 1976, Michael actually lived with Diana Ross for a year. At the time, he was just stepping into fame, while Diana was already a blazing superstar. Michael showered her with nicknames, sometimes mama, sometimes girlfriend, always with a tenderness that shocked even his family. His mother, Katherine Jackson, later admitted in her own writings that Michael's eyes lit up for Diana in ways no one else could ever command. To him, she wasn't just an icon. She was a star burning so brightly he could never touch her. He trailed behind her like a shadow, desperate to stay close. But here's the scandal. His feelings for her didn't stop at admiration. As Michael grew older, his feelings for Diana took a sharp turn. This wasn't just admiration anymore. It was desire. His heart would pound every time she was near, even with that 14-year age gap hanging between them. He even teased his sisters, LaToya and Janet, saying, "You won't be beautiful until you look like Diana Jones." And then came the moment that changed everything. Diana Ross introduced the Jackson 5 on the Ed Sullivan Show, blasting Michael into the homes of millions across America. But while the world saw a boy's career explode, what they didn't see were the complicated emotions brewing inside him. Michael wanted more than just mentorship. He wanted Diana herself. At one point, he even proposed to her. When word slipped out, Diana's inner circle panicked. Friends worried that marrying someone so much younger would ruin her carefully built image and shake her career. Hollywood was ruthless, and the thought of Diana being branded an older woman clinging to a boy terrified them. Yes, Michael may have been her closest companion, but the gap between them loomed too large. She had an empire to protect, and risking it all for Michael could have destroyed her. But then, shockingly, in the 1980s, Diana flipped the script and promised she would marry him. For Michael, it was a fantasy finally coming true. She even wore the ring he gave her. Fans spotted it sparkling during Motown 25, and again at the American Music Awards in 1984. And the real jaw-dropper? Diana kissed Michael on stage in front of the world. She gently placed her hand on his cheek, making sure the ring caught the spotlight. Insiders later revealed this was her way of testing the waters, curious to see if the world could accept them as more than friends. After that, their relationship grew bolder. They even confessed to Michael's mother, Katherine Jackson, that they wanted to be together. But her reaction? Explosive. Katherine furiously declared Diana was too old for Michael and accused her of steering him off track. Things spiraled when Katherine shared her disapproval with the press. Overnight, the media slapped Diana with the brutal label of homewrecker. The avalanche of criticism from family, fans, and the public crushed Diana. Under the weight of it all, she pulled away. Rumors swirled that the pair got engaged twice, but both times it fell apart. Instead of standing at the altar with Michael, Diana shocked everyone by marrying Norwegian businessman Arne Næss instead. What cut the deepest was that Michael never even met the man Diana married. He didn't know a thing about this wealthy Norwegian businessman until the wedding news hit him like a punch. Michael was crushed, shocked, jealous, and brokenhearted. He couldn't even bring himself to attend the ceremony of the woman he once dreamed of calling his wife. In his autobiography, Moonwalk, Michael confessed he felt empty inside, torn between wishing her happiness in public while secretly carrying a scar he knew would never heal. He had believed they were meant for a beautiful ending, but that dream shattered in an instant. And the irony, that marriage didn't bring Diana joy either. Yes, she had 2 sons with Arne Nace, but the cracks were obvious. They lived on different continents, and Diana openly admitted she couldn't handle Norway. It was too cold, too dark, too far away from her children, her career, and her family back in the US. Friends whispered that even while pregnant with Arnie's child, Diana secretly met with Michael. It didn't matter who was in her life, he had always been the love lingering in the background. Michael himself wrote the most bittersweet words in Moonwalk. "I always loved Diana, and I always will, but time dulled everything." While Diana poured herself into family life, Michael drowned in world tours, and soon their rare meetings became almost impossible. In 1991, Diana admitted in an interview with the Rock Hill Herald, "When he wants to meet me, he will. When he doesn't, he disappears. Can't call, can't find him." To her, Michael was always a mysterious love, a dream she could never truly hold. But there was one moment that fans still whisper about. Back in 1977, the two worked together on the film The Wiz in New York. Michael was just 19 during filming. One night, Diana showed up at his apartment and didn't leave until the morning. The next day, when an assistant came by looking for them, he called the apartment. And it was Diana's voice that answered the phone. She was still there. So what really happened that night? Diana later teased her friends and half joked, "One thing I'm sure of, Michael is not gay." That was the phrase that popped up when people asked about that night. But Michael never explained. He just smiled slyly and said, "You have to ask her." And when Diana was pressed for the same answer, she smiled right back and said, "You have to ask Michael." Neither of them ever gave a clear response, and that silence only fueled the mystery surrounding their bond. The closeness between Diana Ross and Michael Jackson set off wild speculation. Some whispered they spent the night together, while the strangest rumor claimed Diana was secretly Michael's biological mother, with Smokey Robinson as the father. That wild theory was shut down quickly. When asked, Smokey laughed out loud and said, "They say I'm the father of the baby? Oh my God, that's so funny." He even joked that he'd call Diana and ask if she'd heard the gossip, laughing, "I'll call her, I have to ask her. It's so funny." Clearly, Diana was not Michael's mother. Their bond was something different, built from years of companionship that only they understood. Still, the burning question lingers. Did they ever cross the line of friendship? Michael himself left clues. In the notes for his History album, he referred to Diana Ross as his mysterious love, a term soaked in romance. Diana also remembered her first time seeing Michael with the Jackson 5 at their Motown audition. She described being captivated by the little boy in a tiny green outfit and hat, performing with pure magic. But what touched her even more was that Michael carried around a photo of the two of them everywhere. He kept it with him through the years, even while on tour, flashing it proudly and joking, "This is my girlfriend." Yet despite this, Michael sometimes felt Diana didn't love him the way he wanted. Whenever he tried to move on and date other women, Diana would suddenly reappear, pulling him back in. Her behavior was full of contradictions. She didn't fully claim him, but she refused to let him go. Michael recalled moments of her jealousy, how she'd keep him close without ever committing. When he started making headlines with Madonna, Diana's reaction was immediate. At one gathering, she climbed onto Michael's lap, stealing all of his attention and brushing Madonna aside as if she didn't even exist. Diana's possessiveness over Michael was impossible to ignore. When Liz Taylor stepped on stage to comfort him, Diana swooped in, clutching Michael's arm and even trying to edge Liz aside at the American Music Awards. And when Michael showed up with Brooke Shields, Diana's reaction was just as telling. Even while standing on stage, she kept blowing him kisses. Then when he walked up to accept his award, Diana clung to him so tightly, flirting so openly, that she completely forgot her own lines in the speech. Michael was torn. Deep down, there was joy that she still wanted him near, but also pain, because she would never fully love him the way he dreamed. It was an endless loop. She wouldn't let him go, but she would never let him belong to someone else. In one interview, Michael admitted he was always trapped between admiration, first love, and the frustration of never being able to truly be himself in their relationship. That storm of emotions bled straight into his music. He wrote a song so raw that producer Quincy Jones nearly lost it when he heard the lyrics. Quincy snapped, "Everyone will know it's about Diana. You can't do that to her." He begged Michael to change the lines, softening it into a story about a random female fan. But even then, Diana knew. She was furious, refusing to speak to Michael for weeks. Yet, as always, the two found their way back. Diana forgave him, and in classic Diana fashion, she even poked fun at it. She performed her own version of the song as an opening number at one of her shows, her playful, provocative way of answering Michael through music. Then came the tragedy that shook the entire world. When Michael Jackson suddenly passed in 2009, fans everywhere were devastated. But for Diana Ross, the loss was personal beyond words. He wasn't just a superstar to her, he was family. She confessed she felt as if a part of her had died too, calling it the greatest loss of my life. In her public statement, she poured out both grief and admiration for the man she never stopped holding close. Michael was a natural talent, a man with a huge heart, and I loved him. Those were Diana Ross's powerful words as she stood at Michael Jackson's memorial, sharing emotional memories of her dearest friend. She never missed a chance to highlight his kindness, his genius, and the unmatched legacy he left behind. But the story of their bond didn't end there. Years after Michael's passing, controversy came roaring back with the release of the explosive documentary Leaving Neverland. In it, Wade Robson and James Safechuck, two former dancers who had once been close to Michael, accused him of years of abuse. The allegations shook the world, ripping apart his image and staining the cultural empire he had built. The backlash was brutal. Radio stations pulled his songs, brands distanced themselves, and projects linked to him collapsed. Even Louis Vuitton's Jackson-inspired fashion line and the highly anticipated Broadway musical Don't Stop Till You Get Enough were suddenly canceled or delayed. But through the storm, Diana Ross stood firm as one of Michael's most loyal defenders. She didn't stay silent. She spoke out, demanding respect for the man she considered family. Diana boldly declared, "I cannot accept people disrespecting Michael. He's my friend. I love him, and I can't bear to see others mock him." She even took to Twitter, writing, "This is how I feel in my heart this morning. I believe Michael Jackson is an incredible person and wonderful, not only to me, but to many others." And to drive her point home, she quoted her own legendary Supremes hit, "Stop, in the name of love." Her message was clear. Diana wanted people to remember Michael for his greatness, not the accusations. She begged the public to show love, not judgment, and her devotion wasn't new. Back in 1995, when Michael was hospitalized, he tearfully called Diana his whole world. His assistant later revealed that Michael even asked his wife at the time, Lisa Marie Presley, to leave the room so he could prepare for Diana's visit. That's how much space she occupied in his heart. And the depth of that trust was made undeniable after his death in 2009. In Michael's official will, he left strict instructions. If his mother, Katherine Jackson, could not care for his children, the only other person he trusted to raise them was Diana Ross. Michael once said, "It doesn't really matter how successful or boastful you are. We all face the same problems. They can all be solved if there is understanding and sincerity." And for Michael, Diana Ross was likely the only person who gave him that deep sense of understanding. His love and trust weren't just spoken. They were proven through action. From hospital visits to being named in his final will, Diana was always there in the darkest chapters of his life. She was his comfort, his sister, his mystery love, and someone he simply couldn't live without. But while Diana shined like a goddess on stage, off stage, her life was far from perfect. Behind the glamour and diamonds, she carried scars that no spotlight could hide. Her failed marriage to her second husband, Arne Nys Jr., cut her deeply. Friends say that despite her resilience, the collapse of that relationship left her broken in ways the public never saw. Those closest to her began noticing troubling signs. Her drinking increased and whispers of dependency started circling. By May 2002, Diana voluntarily checked herself into a 30-day rehab program. But just 3 weeks in, she walked out, determined to keep her tour schedule alive. On stage, the shows dazzled. But behind closed doors, her struggles were mounting. That August, she tried again, returning briefly to rehab, but the battle wasn't over. Then came December 2002, the night that nearly destroyed her. Diana was pulled over in Tucson, Arizona for driving the wrong way on a one-way street. The police ran a blood alcohol test, and the results were shocking: 0.20%, over twice the legal limit of 0.08%. Even more puzzling, Diana wasn't in Arizona for work. She was staying at the exclusive Canyon Ranch Wellness Resort, ironically, a place for healing. The fallout was brutal. Diana pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 48 hours in jail. At the end of 2002, the world's glamorous diva found herself behind bars. It was one of the darkest stains on her career, a low point fans never expected from someone so untouchable. But that arrest also marked a turning point. She served her time, faced her demons, and began slowly rising again. Because even in her moments of chaos, Diana Ross remained more than just a singer. She was a force, a visionary who had already transformed herself once before. By the late 1980s, after 2 decades with Motown, she had gone from a Detroit girl with a dream to a global superstar whose shadow still loomed over the industry. Diana made a bold move that shook the entire music world. She walked away from Motown. Leaving the legendary label wasn't an easy decision, but Diana knew it was time to take control of her future. When she announced she was searching for a new deal, Motown gave her a $250,000 parting payment. But the real shock came when labels began fighting over her. Boardwalk Records threw $18 million on the table, but Diana turned it down. Then, on May 14, 1981, she stunned the industry by signing a 7-year, $20 million contract with RCA Records, the biggest music deal in history at the time. This wasn't just about money, it was about freedom. The deal gave Diana full creative control, a privilege almost unheard of for female artists back then. Before signing, she even went back to Berry Gordy, Motown's founder and her former boyfriend, asking if he could match the offer. His answer was heartbreaking: "It's not possible." That sealed her decision. With RCA, Diana reinvented herself. She pushed boundaries with her sound, her image, and her style, pioneering the concept of constant reinvention years before Madonna even entered the scene. Each new album felt like a rebirth. Her single Upfront might not have been a massive commercial hit, but it proved one thing: Diana Ross never stood still. She was fearless, always chasing evolution. And her legacy, eternal. Diana Ross wasn't just a diva, she was a living icon. Nominated for 13 Grammys, honored with 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards, one as a solo artist and one with the Supremes. She remains the only female artist in history to score #1 hits as a soloist, as part of a group, in a duet, and in the iconic collective project, We Are the World by USA for Africa. On the Hollywood Walk of Fame, she has not 1 but 2 stars, one for her solo career and one for the Supremes. But Diana's greatness didn't stop with the spotlight. She poured herself into philanthropy, raising millions for programs like A Better Chance, which helps underprivileged students reach elite schools. And perhaps the most personal part of her legacy, the bond she shared with Michael Jackson. She wasn't just his mentor, not just his muse, she was his godmother. She held one of the closest, most influential roles in the King of Pop's life, a connection that shaped both of their stories forever. Diana Ross's tale proves that legends aren't built only on stage. They're shaped by the secrets, struggles, and scars they carry behind the curtain. So what do you think of the love, loyalty, and scandal between Diana Ross and Michael Jackson? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next story of the legends who changed the world. See you in the next video.